Steve says, we know everyone loved to try to make the Undertaker laugh or break character. Do you remember anyone trying to pop you and make you lose it during the brother love segments?
Everybody tried to break me. Yeah, Jake, just smart ass shit. Hogan all the time. I think Sherry. Sherry would whisper shit in my ear and everything just to try to get me to break me. So, just different people, different times, different situations. Everybody tried to make somebody break, man. Yeah, you're right. If you're not having fun, then what the hell are you doing?
John Murphy is with us, and he says, how come the Junkyard Dog didn't become the star he was in Mid-South? We know for once he was the top guy, but that spot was already taken with Hogan. Is there more to it than that?
Yeah, why don't you look at his bank account?
What do you mean?
Well, I would say the JYD's bank account was about 6 to 7 times what it was for.
Oh, we're not comparing that way. He just means why. I mean, what kept him?
But the Junkyard Dog, he's looking at it like, hey, man, I'm being used over here for Bill Watts for this amount of money. I'm being used over here for WWE for this amount of money. And 7 times the amount of money, that there's your decision right there. And I think that JYD was used. Good God, I think JYD was used as a secondary babyface without a doubt in WWE. Huge star, mega star, much bigger than he was in Mid-South.
Danny says, when Mr. Perfect won the Intercontinental title tournament, why was he given a tag team championship belt to celebrate with? I mean, I wasn't even there, Bruce, but it's got to be somebody forgot to bring the fucking belt, right? That's the only answer.
Yeah. Somebody lost the belt. Who knows?
Sunday Lights
once. I'm supposed to have it tonight. I'm champion. I'm supposed to have it tonight. Oh.
Sunday Lights wants to know, did Bruce ever get to witness world class at its peak? Like the Freebirds and the Von Erichs in a sold out Sportatorium. We know you went to the Sportatorium, during the global days, but when Fritz and World Class were at their peak, did you ever get to go to the Sportatorium and attend a show there?
No, never did. First time I went to Sportatorium was for Global Championship Wrestling. And I maybe went once or twice to Will Rogers in Fort Worth. But to me, again, I thought it was just matches. You again, we look back fondly, and I look back fondly on ours. But all it was, man, the lights start to dim. One guy comes out of one dressing room, one guy comes out of the other dressing room. They get in the ring. Ladies and gentlemen, this contest scheduled for one fall with a 15-minute time limit. Introducing first in the red corner, weighing in at 220 pounds from Vancouver, Nick Kozak. His opponent from Alaska, weighing in at 265 pounds, he is Mike York, the Alaskan. Referee is Bronco Lubitsch. That's it. Ding, ding, ding. Rinse, repeat, move on.
Here's one from, and this is a great question. Jersey City Assassin 2 says, in hindsight, do you regret there not being a greater push to keep Ric Flair in the WWF until WrestleMania 9? Instead of having him finish up in January against Mr. Perfect on Raw, would it have been better for business to have saved that loser leaves town match for WrestleMania and thus have Flair depart the company on the bigger stage? I like that idea. WrestleMania 9 loser leaves with Perfect and Flair. What do you think of that?
Well, it sounds great for you to like the idea. You didn't have to deal with Ric Flair.
That's true.
So, dealing with an unhappy Ric Flair and dealing with guys that are unhappy and bitching and moaning and not wanting to do things. And he was unhappy. And Vince wanted to make him happy. Vince was like, okay, man, you'd rather be happy over here? Go over here. And so to that, I say, and I'm not saying, man, I love Ric Flair to death. But would I rather deal with a happy Ric Flair? Would I rather deal with a Ric Flair that doesn't want to be here?
Yeah.
I would rather happy Ric Flair.
It's interesting because when he goes to WCW, of course, he can't wrestle right away. So they do the Flair with the gold stuff. He was just buying time until he could go anyway. I love that idea of him perfect at WrestleMania. That could have been fun. Rich Russo says, I'd love to hear a Bobby Heenan and Pat Patterson story. They seem to have some funny interactions between the two of them. Thank you. That's a good question. You got any fun stories between those guys?
With Bobby and Gino? Holy cow. My favorite thing with Bobby is the way that the television studio was situated was you had you kind of had like a control room where everything was. And then you had trying to center my hands. And then you would walk through there and then you'd go through the audio room. Then you'd go into the studio. When you got in the studio, that's where Bobby and Gorilla were. And Bobby Gorilla would be really nice. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Conrad. Should I say Thompson? Nice to meet you, man. Pleasure. Hell of a facility we got here. Yep. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Bobby Heenan. What's your name? Conrad. Nice to meet you. We'd walk Conrad out through the door, get him right about to the master control where you could hear everything. And Monsoon would say, who the fuck was that Yahoo? And Heenan would go, I don't know. Don't commit the name to memory. I don't think we'll ever see him again. Jesus Christ. Did you fucking catch the socks on that guy? What? Smells like he was chewing on him from here. That was the normal Bobby Gorilla routine with any guest that we would bring in. I think one of the funniest things, because it's so childlike, man. Again, we're grown-ass adults, but you're on the road 300 days a year. And after a while, you got to blow some steam off. And we had to go to Gino's room for something. And he had 2 beds. And we jumped all over the one bed, like to make it all messy and crumbly underneath. And then we smoothed everything out. And then we short sheeted the second bed. And then we moved all of his shit in the room, just opposite of the way that it was. I mean, stupid shit like that. And that was an everyday thing. It was Bobby you would have a communal refrigerator with someone with an apple in it, with their name on it. This is Bill's apple. Bobby would take a bite.
You gotta, yeah.
Put it back. Every single day. And then when one woman, we were at the Country Inn, it's no longer there, up on High Ridge, came up to Bobby and I as we were having dinner and says, you two have such an interaction. This must be your son. And from that moment on, that's where I became, Bruce Heenan.
I was not going to cut you off because I love hearing all your Bobby Heenan stories, but the question was about Bobby Heenan and Pat Patterson.
Oh, I thought it was Monsoon.
I know you went with Gino, and I was I love those stories. I'm not going to cut you off.
Pat Patterson's story. Pat Patterson's story is that the air host in Chicago, which is where all the boys used to stay, shithole hotel, but cheap drinks, and you usually weren't staying there longer than an hour anyway. And they thought it would be funny to take a shit underneath the bed, and they take the mattress off the bed, and somebody already beat them to it.
I don't know why that makes me laugh, but it does every time.
Because it's funny.
My God.
Why? It's just funny. There was this place, Krabby Bill's in Florida. Man, you couldn't buy a seat in Krabby Bill's. Okay. 3-4 hour wait time, type shit. Pat would call to get us a table. Of course, they know Pat. They love Pat. Whatever you need, Pat. We'll have a table for 10. Bobby would call. Hey, I'm coming in, like a half hour earlier. I got a table of 8. Can you give me a table of 8? Just to watch them scramble to accommodate us. And they were such great people, and it was funny and little things like that.
Coach Rosie has an interesting question. Harmless pranks. I like that.
We were children.